We have it. I love it. Well, good morning, a happy Monday and a happy belated Father's Day to all of the fathers here in the room and all of them in Zoom world. And this is the kickoff of our South Florida Regional Planning Council meeting for Monday, June the 16th, 2025. If we could all please stand and do the Pledge of Allegiance to that beautiful flag that celebrated a birthday on Saturday. Oops, sorry. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Great, Grandpa.
Senator Gallery on his way there.
Okay, wonderful.
Or meeting and late.
Kathy, would you please call roll?
Kaplan,
Here.
Kate's,
In the Bahamas.
Hi. Corradino,
Here.
Carr,
Here.
Garcia, Geller,
On his way.
on his way,
yes.
Gilbert, Goldberg,
Here.
Borland, she's late,
She's on her way too.
Kaufman. We'll see. McGee. Rodriguez,
Here.
thank you, Uding,
Here.
Davila. Megan's here. Dat, sorry, Wynn,
Ken Jeffries, for DATWIN, F. District 6.
thank you. Villaboy. Lincoln.
Here.
Madam Chair, if I can quickly offer, would you kindly designate Mayor Furr as a member of the executive committee this morning to the extent that we can proceed?
I will graciously do that.
Without his objection, of course, legally.
Happy to do it.
Wonderful. Thank you, Beam.
Then you have an executive committee information here just wanted to begin.
And Senator Galler's parking, so.
That's even better, even nicer. Yeah.
How many do we need?
You need
Four.
at least 4.
Okay.
But you're making progress.
All right,
Yes.
that's wonderful.
We're
So-
good. You're almost there.
We do have some presentations, but they will be at 11 a.m. So we'll have to stay tuned for those and we will move right on to our action items. And the first one will be approving the minutes of our previous meeting. I will entertain a motion.
Move. Second.
So moved and second. Any objections? Hearing none, the motion is approved. Next, we will have our financial report from Mr. Leo Solde. Good morning, Leo.
Good morning, everyone.
Yes, it's a marvelous Monday.
It is to be in Florida, right?
Yes, sir.
So hopefully all the fathers had a great Father's Day. Happy Father's Day again. And I'm glad to present to you the financials for the month of May. If you look at your first page, you will see that the general fund decreases its assets in $121,310. That's program-related expenses. The federal, state, and local funds increase their assets in $134,921. Revolving loan funds increase their assets in $4,852. Southeast Florida Prosperity Institute increased in $2,634 their assets. Good morning. Yeah. On page 2, if you will see the income statement, revenues are at 91% of collections for the fiscal year, and at 66.67% of the fiscal year lapse, and total expenses are at 70% of the budget. That's all I have for today regarding financials.
Thank you, Leo.
Yes, ma'am.
Just checking to make sure you're there. Anyone have any questions for Leo? There's non-artificial intelligence right there. The real deal.
No, I did.
I love it. Anyone in Zoom world have any questions for Leo this morning? Hearing none. Anyone in the room? Hearing none, I will entertain a motion to approve the financial report.
So moved.
Thank
Second.
you. Second, and welcome to the meeting, Senator Geller.
Thank you.
Happy Father's Day.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Madam Chair, if I can have a word before I leave.
Yes,
I'd
sir.
like to thank our team and the team of auditors for the green audit that they're about to present. They're very professional and their help, aided us in getting another green audit for the fourth year consecutive. Fifth year.
That's remarkable and not unexpected from this team. So congratulations.
Thanks,
And
Sergeant.
we have a motion. Hearing no objection, the motion is approved.
This we call it unremarkable.
Yes, that's true. A very unremarkable audit, which is the way you want those things to go.
They're trying
Okay, next up, we have action item C, the consent for the comprehensive plan amendment reviews. Christina Miskis is going to,
She's available if you need her. I
Okay.
think it's pretty straightforward. It's just reading.
all right,
Should give permission, Madam Chair.
They're all
Yes, sir.
agenda.
Thank you. For the record, the items for consideration publicly are as follows. Under item number 3, subsection C. These are the proposed comprehensive plan amendments for the following venues. The town of Hillsborough Beach, number 25-01 ER. The city of Parkland, number 25-01 ESR. The city of Tamarack, 25-01 ER. And lastly, the city of Weston, 25-01 ER, all of which have a public hearing affixed. And a member of the public came out today to speak for or against the items. They may be heard through the chair, either online or otherwise in person if available. Those are the 4 items on the record. Thank you, Madam Chair.
thank you, sir. So this is a public hearing. Is there anybody signed up in this room or on Zoom that wishes to make public comment? Hearing none, we will.
Approval.
Thank you so much. We have a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a second. Are there any objections? Hearing none, the motion is approved. You notice I haven't asked anyone to say aye yet.
I know. I was waiting.
Okay,
need training in saying it properly.
yes, yes.
Oi!
Eating collard greens.
That's right. That helps.
Okay.
They've adopted, Madam Chair.
Yes, sir. Next, we have our adopted items.
Thank you. Same rules apply. These are the adopted items for the record. Members of the public who are either here in person or otherwise online to speak for or against the items may be heard through the chair as a matter of law and as a matter of protocol. The 2 are as follows. The Isla Mirada Village of Islands, number 25-01 ACSC, and number 2, the Village of Palmetto Bay, 25-01 ER, both of which are adopted items for the record here this morning and for consideration by the full council. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
This is a public hearing. Is there anybody in the room or on Zoom that wishes to make a comment? And the room went silent. With that, we'll close the public hearing and I will
Approval.
entertain a motion. Here we have a motion.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion and we have a second. Any objections? Hearing none. The motion's approved. Righty. Next up, we have our regional issues. We don't have any. That's a good thing. So we'll move right on. We do the audit report now, or should we jump? Is it 11 yet? No.
No, I think if we could now, Chairman, we can go to the,
Program reports?
yes, the one.
All right. Let's do that. I always love to hear from our senior loan officer, Jeff Hart. If you would like to take the podium and give us a status report on our revolving loan fund, please.
Good morning, council members. As the senior loan officer and manager of the revolving loan fund programs, I'd like to share a few brief highlights on our revolving loan programs for the month of June. As a result of our continued outreach directly to small businesses, economic development partners, and our technical resource partners, such as the small business development centers throughout the region, the traditional RLF is reviewing and underwriting 3 new prospects I just wanted to share. First, C&G Eateries, doing business as Cooper City Gyros, is seeking $100,000 for equipment and working capital support to support the new established Mediterranean restaurant in Cooper City. I'd like to thank Councilmember Goldberg for this referral, as we welcome all referrals and outreach from all our council members, so thank you. Second, the International Family Academy, located in Fort Lauderdale, is a nonprofit lower and middle school with 203 students and is seeking up to $400,000 to assist with renovations and build out of their school premises. And a third prospect is from the Dade Institute of Technology and Health, located in North Miami Beach, which specializes in training students for careers in technology, computer science, and nursing. And this school is seeking up to $500,000 to assist with working capital to expand the curriculum. We've seen an uptick recently from many nonprofit organizations, charitable organizations, and educational institutions seeking capital assistance to help offset anticipated reductions in the use of federal and state grants, as well as donations that have historically supported such programs. To date, the CARES Act RLF administration has approved 36 loans totaling $7.86 million and saved or created over 351 jobs. The program has approximately $490,000 to lend to new borrowers. In regards to the traditional RLF program, it's provided $5.6 million to 29 businesses and has approximately $700,000 to lend to new borrowers. In regards to our EPA Brownfields Cleanup RLF program, last month I was proud to announce that the SFRPC's Brownfields Cleanup was awarded $2 million in supplemental RLF funding to assist the remediation and cleanup of the former Hollywood ash incinerator in Broward County. And additionally, the EPA awarded us $1.2 million in an assessment grant to the SFRPC to assist the City of Miami, the Alipata Collaborative, and the South Florida Community Land Trust to assist to conduct 18 phase 1, 9 phase 2 environmental assessments, develop 8 cleanup and 10 reuse plans and support community engagement during these activities. For your reference, I've included the recent press release in your board packages to share with your constituents. And separately, I also provided a project progress report in your board packages as it relates to the environmental assessment and remediation of the former Hollywood incinerator and ash dump in Broward. And finally, in regards to our affordable housing initiative, the Southeast Florida Community Development Fund is currently underwriting a new 26-unit affordable single-family housing project in the city of Sunrise called Sunset Strip Square. This is a project being developed by New Urban Communities and was awarded gap financing by the Housing Finance Authority of Broward County. And separately, we continue to support the Housing Finance Authority, the Housing Foundation of America, with their new 12-unit affordable residential townhome project in the city of Miramar, highlighted last month to help address workforce housing in that city. Each unit there, which was about 1,600 square feet, and is being offered at about approximately $385,000 per town. Thank you all again for your support for making a big difference. Thank you.
Jeffrey, thank you for that in-depth report. And I want to take a second to thank Councilman Carrie Goldberg for the referral. This is such a great program, and it's nice to hear the good stories that come out of it. So I appreciate that. Any comments by anyone at the table? The floor is yours, Senator Giller.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Quick question, could you elaborate on what you said that some of the nonprofits were seeking capital funds? I think you said that you were noticing an uptick in this because they were getting reduced funds.
Correct.
A concern that I would have, and on financial matters, is Commissioner Udine still on?
We can.
Okay.
I'm here.
Would ask Commissioner Udine, because having certain bank boards, he's, far more expert in this than I am. I would be a little concerned if we would be giving capital funds to groups that need the funds because they're facing shortfalls in other income, simply because to me that's an indication that they might not be able to pay back the funds. And while we're doing this, and I'm assuming that we are able to loan to nonprofits, I don't know this, but whatever, I mean, our goal is to do good by doing well or something like that. I would be concerned about if there is a trend to be giving to people who are showing that they need us because of downturns in revenues. Commissioner Udi, and again, this is far more your area than mine. Do you have any comments? And I say this without giving you wording about this.
I know I spoke with Isabel in the past and we discussed this program a little bit. And the mission is obviously a little bit different than what goes on in the private sector for these type of loans. Your points are well taken, but as of now, the loan portfolio is showing, decent return and, acceptable risk limits as I look at it from what I've looked at in the private sector. So I share your concerns are well taken, but I mean, based on what our mandate is with the South Florida Regional Planning Council and these dollars that go out, these are all tough loans when you're doing these small business loans, especially to the nonprofits. So, but we're doing good with the dollars that we're getting.
Thank you, Commissioner, and thank you, Jeff.
I would just through the chair, I would just mention, I sit on the revolving loan fund board and my knowledge, we've never given a loan to a nonprofit. And I would be very cautious about doing that. We'd have to go back to the RLF plan. Because my understanding was that it was always intended for small businesses, but for profit businesses, I didn't think nonprofits were allowed. But I would really have to think about that.
Yeah, sure.
Yes, the floor is yours again.
Thank you. The concern, it is very difficult frequently, just as an example, for churches to get financing. And the reason banks don't want to foreclose against churches. And when, in terms of funding nonprofit, I think, there is a concern that I have only on appearance that the SFRPC has to foreclose on the Society to Prevent Cruelty to Martians. I'm trying to go out of my way to not pick any particular group, but the Martians may have a substantial group that would be highly offended if we foreclosed on them. So that is just a concern that I have, but again, I'm not an expert in finance, and I just wanted to raise these issues.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Any more discussion? Anyone in Zoom have a question for Mr. Tartt? Okay, thank you so much for your report. All righty, next up on our discussion items, we have our executive director's report. So that would be Miss Isabella Garcia-Carvalho.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So, I'm pleased to let you know that we are continuing to work on the regional conference that's scheduled for September 11th. That will be needed this week through today to finish refining the rough draft. We've been getting some input from folks, but we're still in that stage, and then we'll be reaching out to the board members individually to see if we can assist us with, different roles at the conference. And it's still scheduled for September 11th. We've been working on finding a location. There are some nice locations, but there would involve sitting rows of seats all along, and I much prefer to find a place where we can have a round table. It'll be more comfortable for the board members, and also it's just easier in and out. More cozy. So that way we don't have to be on rows, but those are gonna cost a little bit of money, so we'll be looking to raise some money from sponsors. Hopefully with our generous help of sponsors, we'll be able to get that done. And again, the topic of the conversation is going to be transit-oriented, the business case for transit-oriented development, affordable housing, and it's creating transit-oriented communities. So that will be the topic of conversation. So we have a lot to do. And so please save that day, September 11th. With respect to the joint conference, I have not spoken with Treasurer Coast, the joint conference yet. I think it's gonna be very, very hard to have a regional conference in September and then the joint conference. The joint conference is on us this time to be the primary organizers. So I would be interested in some input. What I heard, and I will need a lot of help with this, is what I heard from our last conversation, manager, was that the issue of the condominiums was very important. I remember Commissioner Rodriguez spoke about that, yourself, Senator Keller. I am not a subject matter expert on condominiums or all those things, but you are. So I would be looking to see if we could have a conversation and frame out what an agenda for that might look like. I did speak with Tom Lanahan, the executive director of the Treasure Coast Council. Yeah. I spoke with him and there was interest in the condominium issue, but I'd like to get together with you, particularly since you're a subject matter expert and yourself. I know it's
Suggest that we can have a short, I can arrange a Zoom between Chair Lincoln, yourself and myself.
that would be great.
And I'll coordinate calendars with Chair Lincoln.
We'll have to do a public meeting notice, which is fine, we can handle that, but it would be nice to have that conversation to see.
When is the meeting scheduled for? What month do we normally do the joint?
Normally, we would do the joint meeting in October, but our
October.
regional conference is in September.
Right, so I also would like to see
I don't
a
know.
conference on FEMA, emergency management, and the shakeout that is taking place in FEMA right now, and the repercussions that's gonna have on the state of Florida with reimbursement. And I think if we did it in October or November, we should be out of the H season, hopefully. And have a, well, okay. Have a better view of what that is going to do for our entire state.
That sounds great, so that's an alternative topic.
Madam Chair, I agree with you, the only concern I have is I don't think any of us had any idea what President Trump is actually going to do on that. I know what says he's may do, but he, in a completely nonpartisan sense, he changes his mind frequently. And I just don't know, I'm hoping that he will realize what a catastrophe it would be for him to follow through on that. I'd hate to schedule a conference and then have him eliminate the topic of the conference a month before it.
Maybe this could be something we could look at,
Presentation
yes,
next month, maybe.
or no, a few years, not a few years, but at our next one,
Yeah, in July.
in July, a year from now, when we really know what is happening.
I think, right, yeah,
Next year.
I think that's an idea, I just can't believe he will be
Correct.
mistaken enough to actually eliminate FEMA. I'm still hoping that business interests can explain to him why that would be such a bad idea.
Is there anyone, Madam Chair,
Is that
that
diplomatic?
you would like to have? I know we
I was
discussed,
trying to figure that.
the emergency management director from Monroe
It was
County.
again to not offend
But-
Martians.
I'm wondering, Senator Geller, I'm wondering, council members, I don't know if it'd even be possible, because it is the H season. If we could have Secretary Guthrie give us like a brief update on
Well, and
the
again, I
next
think,
meeting, just to give us sort of a sense of what's going on.
of where we are.
Yeah, maybe we could have him as a special guest,
Mhm.
and he can just give us 10 minutes of time, 15 minutes of his time.
Sure.
To help put all the pieces together, assuming of course, we're not in an emergency
And in an H.
situation.
Okay.
The H word.
Although have reached Secretary Guthrie, understand that's always gonna be invited tentative.
Perfect.
And maybe, he's been with us, he's spoken with us before. He'll be a very nice person, I'm sure he will be willing to help.
Very good director.
Yes.
All right.
Reach out to him.
Anyone else have any input?
What about the notion that local governments and county governments can function without reliance on ad valorem taxation?
Sorry.
The services vary.
Yes.
I don't know if she's available.
I can tell you that the Florida Association of Counties has put together a tax committee, and this whole year, that committee is going to be working on what property tax looks like, doing a breakdown for every single county on what they spend their ad valorem taxes on, what percentage of that ad valorem tax is used for first responders, health and safety, and that and what the association is going to be doing proactively to educate the legislators on what counties use that money for. So I think that would be absolutely a wonderful topic for us to have at one of our meetings. Yes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The one thing I would ask, and I think I may have raised it at an FAC meeting, but I would caution you on, is the Tallahassee Democrat has done a great disservice, of which we've been trying to correct. They have listed what percentage of counties' total revenue comes from ad valorem. And just as an example, they've listed Broward County coming in at 27%. What they have done is taken the entire revenue stream. And so Broward County, for example, has a budget, give or take $8 billion. Give or take 6 billion of that are enterprise funds, airport, seaport, and water, where we can only use those funds on airport, seaport, and water. In our general revenue, which is really what they should be talking about, we're 77% of our GR is from ad valorem.
Right.
And so, you know, which is why, as you've heard on FAC meetings, I only refer to this as the defund the police bill, or defund the police proposal. But I applaud everything you're doing. I'm hoping FAC can, I know Dade has the same issue we do, Palm Beach has this, every county that runs an airport, seaport, other enterprise fund, you know, and the Democrat or the numbers that are commonly used and that the governor's office has repeatedly used.
Right.
So whatever we can do to get out the word,
Correct.
we FAC, that those numbers are not the correct numbers would be extremely helpful.
I know that the Florida Association of County staff were in attendance in that meeting, and that is again one of the issues. We're going to even be creating a video that will explain just what you said, Senator Geller, because that is a big concern of ours.
I would love to volunteer, by the way, to be in that committee.
You love to volunteer, don't you?
I do.
Thank you for that.
And thank you. And I think lastly, Madam Chair, for my report, I just want to mention that we had the great opportunity that myself, Haley Lazaroni and my staff, Commissioner Rodriguez, and also Chief of Staff for Senator Garcia, we were able to go visit the Palm Beach Solid Waste Authority Kingdom, as best as I can put it. It's its own country, it's kingdom, but it's really spectacular. And I will just stop there so that Commissioner Rodriguez can bring her perspective into that. But it was a great trip. It's really impressive. And
It is. I've had the opportunity to tour it as well. It's very impressive.
yeah.
Commissioner Rodriguez, Maria Rodriguez, would you like to unmute and chime in?
Yes, I did want to thank everybody for joining. It was really, really interesting to see the whole compound, the whole fiefdom that they have up there, and see not just obviously the waste energy facility, but the recycling facility and all the technologies that they have there. I was really impressed by the cleanliness of the facility as a whole as well, because you think you're going to a dump and it's not really as that. But I understand, at least from the Broward perspective, we do have some different kind of challenges. So it was interesting to see the differences between what they have in Palm Beach and what we have here in Broward.
Thank you for your input.
Yes, and I mentioned last week I was at the presentation of the draft solid waste authority plan for Broward. Also, I thought a very good meeting. And I'll be interested to see how we can pull things together. As I mentioned at a previous board meeting, council staff has helped facilitate a regional conversation with the solid waste management directors from Miami, Broward, and Palm Beach with the idea of expanding it to include the remaining directors. So that's just starting, but it was very helpful to become more aware. And I'd like to congratulate Commissioner Fairmeyer for his great work on this solid waste management.
Yes,
You really have done an
Yes.
outstanding job.
trash has been your passion.
No. I'm not gonna call it passion.
That concludes my report right now.
Thank you so much for your report. Let's move on to our legal counsel report with the one and only Mr. Sam Gorin.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning again. I'll just focus your attention on one item in the backup. It's the letter we typically publish each month regarding pending litigation. On a global basis, there's no litigation pending against the council of any consequence worth noting, and there's nothing to report of any consequence. I'll just draw your attention to the one item that's in the memo. from our law partner,
Whatever goes away.
which I can't comment on that, but the end result is that this is an item for you to review. The last paragraph of which is worthy of your note. There's a hearing tomorrow on a motion for summary judgment filed by the plaintiff in that matter, which is a foreclosure matter. That's the other property, which was the collateralized property, which, oh, by the way, the council has released its lien on as of this past January, February. The documentation was completed where the loan was released, that property was released from the council's mortgage, and there has been a settlement document executed with the then borrower. And as far as I'm aware, the borrower is current, correct? And they're on a monthly payment, ACH basis, which means that the council gets paid on a monthly basis. This is another matter. The council was named in this matter, and to the extent that we'll hopefully hear from the court after tomorrow's hearing, we will advise you accordingly. But I think the last paragraph speaks to the issues. The plaintiff is seeking a summary judgment conclusion. The case was reset for trial into the month of, I believe, October. So it's probably the best I can say at the moment without getting into any further details of any consequence. I'm happy to chat privately with any one of you at any one given particular period of time, but it's been an interesting journey. So that's all I have on that subject, and nothing else to report except thank you for the opportunity to report, and nice to be with you as well.
Thank you so much for your report. Does anyone have any questions? In the room, none, Zoom?
Thank you all very much.
Hearing none, thank you so much. It is 11, so let's jump to our 22-23 audit presentation. And I believe we have some guest speakers. We have Ms. Joy Chambers Nicholas, who is the senior manager at SBA, the senior auditor and notary. And she is going to be giving us our report this morning. Take care, safe travels. Good morning and welcome to the South Florida Regional Planning Council. We greatly appreciate you being here today.
Thank you so much, and Chair, thank you all. Good morning, council members. Awesome. All right, big shoe to fill, Penny Davis. All properties in my heels. Okay.
Your shoes look really nice.
Okay. I'll try. Thank you. All right, so for executive summary, and I note that already Bill has told you that you have a clean audit, and that's awesome. And great working with the council, always. All right, for executive summary, the results of the audit. For your financial statement, you have an unmodified opinion. There were no material weaknesses noted or internal control over financial reporting, and there were no instances of non-compliance or other matters requiring for reporting under government auditing standards. For your single audit, there was also an unmodified opinion on compliance for your major federal program. No material weaknesses noted for internal control over compliance. And for the chapter 10.550 rule of the Auditor General, no matter of negative impact to report. Also with section 218415 of Florida statutes on your investment policies, you're in compliance. I have my cheerleader right here, thank you. All right, for the scope of examination, we're on to slide 4. The audit of the financial statements in accordance with generally accepted auditing standards and with government auditing standards and the provisions of chapter 10.550 rule of the Auditor General. Management is responsible for the preparation and fair presentation of the financial statements presented as extended to the government, and this extends to you, the governing body. The auditor is responsible for opining on the financial statements as presented. Considered are the internal controls over financial reporting, and what was tested are the controls over compliance with laws, regulations, and for the grant agreements. With single audit, also in accordance with the requirements of the uniform guidance, OMB uniform guidance. Management is responsible for compliance with federal statutes, regulations, and terms and conditions of the federal awards. These were tested compliance for your major federal program, and considered were internal controls over compliance with all your major federal programs. Now we move on to your results, your financial results. For your statement of net position for the year 2024 and 2023, what we noted that your assets, there was a slight decline in assets of, you reported 13.89 million compared to 14.045 million for 2023. Just a variance of 1%. Your deferred outflows had a 270,000 compared to 289 in 2023, a change of 207%. Liabilities were 736,000 in 2024 compared to 2.058 million in 2023, a change of 180%. Deferred inflows 306,000 compared to 1,021,000 in 2023, a change of 234%. So your net position, your outcome was 13.1 million in 2024 compared to 11.8 in 2023, a change of 10%. Are there any questions for your statement of net position?
Any questions? Anyone in Zoom with a question? We can't see your hand if it's raised, so just unmute and ask away. Hearing none, we can move on.
Okay, for your statement of thank you. For your statement of activities, and these are also reported in the thousands. What we are comparing is your changes in revenue. For your membership assessment, this was 1.1 million or 32% of overall income. Federal, state, and local grants were 1.7 million or 50% of your overall income. Interest earned was 568,000 or 16%, and other income was 70,000 or 2% of your overall income. The total overall income, of 3.487 million, and that compared to 8.997 million for 2023, and that had to do with your care funding, the change in revenue was as a result of your fair funding. Okay, for expenditures. We have personal services of 1.75 million, and that's 48% of your overall expenditures, and that's comparative with 1.548 million or 43% of overall expenditures in the prior year. Operating expenses, we have 564,000 and roughly comparative with 546 in 2023. Outside consulting expense of 1.006 million compared to 965,000 in 2023. Bad debt expense was 196 compared to 239, and depreciation, these are estimates of 110,000 compared to 93,000, for a total expenditure of 3.6 million compared to 3.39 in 2023. And we continue. We have the single audit under the uniform guidance, a total expenditure of 6.9 million. For your major programs that were reviewed this year, they were the U.S. Department of Commerce Economic Development Cluster of 5.99 million, and the U.S. Department of Environmental Protection, the Brownsville Multipurpose Assessment Revolving Loan Fund and Cleanup Cooperative Agreements of 536,000. So you are again a low risk auditee for 2024. And we have some required communications for you as the governing body that we want to share with you today. Responsibilities, you have the responsibilities for the plan, scope, and timing of the engagement. We presented that in the engagement letter dated March 3 to 2025. Accounting policies, note 2 of the financial statement. Management is responsible for the selection and the use of the policies. No transactions which lack authoritative guidance or consensus on your part or on our part. Significant transactions were recognized in the proper period, and these included sensitive estimates of allowance for doubtful debts and loans, depreciation, the lease liabilities of the GASB 87 that was implemented, and all estimates were considered reasonable. Okay, other significant notes that you should be mindful of in looking at the financial statements are note 4, cash and investments, note 5, loans receivable, allowance for loan losses, note 8, employee benefits plans, note 9, long-term liabilities, and note 10, commitments. All disclosures are mutual, consistent, and clear. There were no uncorrected misstatements. All material misstatements were identified and adjusted in the financials. And I think I'm down to my final. Okay, thank you. All right, so other required communications for governance. There were no significant difficulties in dealing with management. Isabel, Leo, they have been very kind. No disagreements with management, no consultations with other independent accountants, no discussions held prior to the current year audit, were a condition of the continued retention. And limited procedures applied to the required supplementary information such as management discussion and analysis, the pension information, and the budget comparison information. The financial statements are intended solely for information and use of the council members and management. However, we know that this is a public document, and as such, it can be by any other. That ends the presentation for today for the financial statement audit under review for the year 2024. Are there any other questions?
Does anyone have any questions for Ms. Chambers Nicholas? Leo, is there anything you wish?
I have a
to add?
question, Udine.
Yes, the floor is yours, Commissioner Udine.
I know it's a little bit complicated to do this on Zoom, but just to the auditor, would it be appropriate for us to ask management to leave so you could give us a report without management in the room for a minute if there were any issues or anything that you want to discuss just with the board and not with management?
Thank you so much for bringing that to our attention. And at this point, I would ask that management please step out of the room.
And for the record, Madam Chair and members of the council, notwithstanding the departure momentarily of the chair or the director and staff people, still on public record. So this is not a privileged confidential meeting. This is-
Question.
Yes.
Staff too.
Yes.
I'm not, Commissioner Udine, does that include staff?
It can be whatever. It's really just a chance for the auditor to, usually this doesn't last very long, especially when you get a clean audit, but it's a chance for the auditor, if there was something that they just wanted to bring up to the board without staff or any of the people there. I always like to do that when I'm on the FAC meetings with audits and when in the private sector.
And for the record, there's no exemption under chapter 119 or under chapter 286, the sunshine law, that would make this a privileged confidential meeting. It is still on the record, still public. Just a matter of courtesy to the auditor to have a conversation with those present to open their discussion, if at all, not required, by the way. But to the extent that it is still a public meeting that's not being ended, and anyone who chooses to think differently is legally incorrect.
Okay, and with that, I'm going to ask that all staff go out in the hallway, get a cup of coffee. And we will wait 3 more seconds.
Christina, the record's still running, correct? The meeting is still is on the record.
Yes. Thank you. And so, Commissioner Udine.
So my question is to the auditor, is there anything that you would like the board to know without staff present in the room?
Okay, usually I know that the commission in other cities, we meet with the commissions one-on-one in order to discuss matters of this nature. But I can say that we have had a clean audit and there were no issues that were reporting to the council members in order to determine the audit. There was nothing that we, when we reviewed and questioned, that did not come with a good answer that we could say, yes, we understood what was.
Thank you. That's all I have, and I would make a motion to approve the audit if there's no other comments.
Thank you for that. I do want to ask a question. If you felt that there was something that raised a flag, would you on your own make the initiative to reach out to the members of this board?
So how we would report it in a management letter comment, and it would come to you and everyone on this board would have gotten the information.
Thank you for that. And so we now have a motion to approve the, and we have a second. Any objections? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion is
And we can get the clerk to
approved.
return.
Let's
to-
get everyone
to-
back
on the
in.
record.
Commissioner Udine, thank you for that.
You're welcome.
And the great news is you all got your blood circulating, you're healthier for to stand up and walk. And there,
That might be our additional.
and there were no issues, nothing that raised any red flags. And we greatly appreciate your all's hard work and tenacity to make sure that all of the pluses and minuses were all correct and everything was done in the proper fashion.
Madam Chair, with your permission,
Yes, sir.
Kathy, the tape was continuous, the video was continuous, nothing was disturbed, we could all confirm. And for the record, the motion was adopted by the chair and unanimously by those present, and also online, supporting and accepting the annual audit as provided for by the CPAs.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
Madam Chair, may I add a word, please?
Yes, you may.
I want to highlight the professionalism of our auditors. They are always there whenever we need them. And we want to clarify this just for the sake of transparency. It's not only the annual audit, but we try to work with them more as in a conversation. Every time we have any doubts, we go to them, or we ask them if there's anything that we should modify or work on, and they have a good feedback with us back and forward. So I want to, highlight that and, tell them that we appreciate them.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you for that. And I think it's evident in how well the audit came out that there is good communication and that everyone's doing the right things. Denise is here. Good morning.
My apologies.
So if no one has any more questions, then you are free to go, and thank you so much.
Thank you, Lord. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Well, I know that,
Wait, one thing, what did you just write down? President.
new president.
New
Broward-
president of the Broward League of Cities, and that would be Denise Wood, who is now in the room.
Thank you very much.
On your presidency.
Thank you very much.
What are your presidential goals for the year?
My initiative is leading One Broward.
Oh, that's
So
lovely.
we have some wonderful things around here. Yeah,
Well, good luck with that. And
thank you very much.
thank you for joining us.
And sworn in by legal counsel here.
Oh,
Yes, I was. It was a great honor.
that's wonderful.
Thank you.
That is wonderful. All right, what is next on our agenda?
So I have the council members report, additional report, okay, and hopefully at that time, our guest
will be here.
will.
So at this point, I'm going to open it up to any council member who wishes to give us an update. Is there anyone in the room first that wishes to give us an update in what's going on in their neck of the woods? Hearing none from the room, is there anyone on Zoom that wishes to enlighten us or to let us know of anything that is going on in their area?
That would be our ex officio.
Okay, so we will then move on to our ex officio report, and we can start with our FDOT. And today it is Ken Jeffries. Ken, is there anything you would like to enlighten us with?
Yes.
If you do, you need to unmute. Hearing.
I don't believe you.
I don't either, but I do see somebody from
Book says 20 minutes.
FDOT 6, FDOT 4. Yes,
Yeah, this is Kent Wally, FDOT District 4. Nothing really to update the group on. We are working on our TSM&O master plan. As far as the Florida Transportation Plan goes, I know that they're going to be having some more meetings coming up soon. I could put the link in the chat, but and then there's supposed to be a kind of like a town hall type of group meeting format. So just some FYIs there. I can share it with the with Isabella on the upcoming milestones. Apologize for not having that available.
no worries, no worries. Thank you for your report. Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Walla?
You see them?
Okay, hearing none, we'll move on. Is Ms. Davila on the call from the Florida Department of Environmental Protection?
Hi, this is Megan Rudder sitting in for Serena.
Good morning.
Hi, I'm sorry, can you repeat the question, please?
I'm just wanting to know if you would like to give us an update.
Oh, no updates for DEP, thank you.
All right, thank you so much.
No, I haven't seen Mr. Bill.
Okay, and with that,
Julio Tejeda from the Water Management District.
we have South Florida Water Management District with us, Mr. Tejeda.
Tejeda. Julio Tejeda.
Hello,
Mr.
this is Julio
Tejeda.
Tejeda. Yep, this
Yes.
is Julio Tejeda sitting in for Armando Villaboy. Nothing new to report on our end.
Any questions? Yes, Senator Geller has a question for you.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Tejeda. The question is, as you know, Broward's about to be underwater. The South Florida Water Management District has been an absolutely wonderful partner with us, trying to get our report done in time to hopefully make the 2026 WARDA bill. Can you just give us an update as to how the SFWMD is doing on that research to try and get the report ready for the 2026 WARDA bill? That was a very, very aggressive schedule, and I keep worrying that we won't be able to meet it.
Yes, we are currently working through that. To give you specific details, I don't have them with me here. I can email you all the updates that we have on our end as to that work.
Okay, my question was more of a yes or no question. Are we still, do you believe, if you know offhand, do you believe we're still on schedule to be able to submit? I think we had to, our plan is to have it done by, I think it's either June or July of 2026. I just want to know if we're still on schedule.
As the last that I've heard, we are still on schedule. Like I said, I would be able to give you a little bit more details through email because I don't have the specifics in front of me right now.
Okay, thank you. That was my only question. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you so much. And I see that Mr. Ken Jeffries from the marvelous Florida Department of Transportation, District 6, my district, is now on the line and would love to give us an update.
Thank you very much. This is Ken Jeffries. The only update that I have to report is that we have appointed another interim director, Antoinette Adams. So we're still waiting for the notification of who the new director for transportation development is going to be. But for right now, it's Antoinette, and she's doing a fabulous job for us.
She is a remarkable woman, and I'm very excited to hear about that. So thank you so much for that update. Anyone else have any questions?
Well, I have an important update when you're done.
And we have a very important update
I
from.
think you were gonna say something, Commissioner.
No, if we didn't have anything else, and while the Madam Chair had already asked, I wanted to brag on the city of Plantation a little bit because we have, really, as many cities in Broward County have not jumped into providing attainable housing. And it's really only been in the last couple of years that we are starting to get more aggressive. And last Wednesday night, the city donated city-owned property that was appraised at $900,000 to Habitat for Humanity. And we're going to be building 16 townhomes. And those are first going to be offered to our city employees and volunteer firefighters, because our volunteer firefighters must live in the city of Plantation. So I'm really excited about that partnership.
Great.
You all require your firefighters to live in your.
Well, we're volunteers, so they have to live. Right,
Wow.
they don't spend only our paid rescue spend the night at the fire station.
Okay.
So our volunteers have to be within 6 minutes of the station. So it's really more important than ever that we make sure that we're providing, attainable housing. So I'm very excited about that.
Wow, that's wonderful. Well, I'll give a quick update on Monroe County. We were the only county in our state last year to be able to carve out some tourist development tax funds. We received $30 million that is earmarked specifically for workforce housing for the tourist industry. And I'm very pleased to report we have just about spent all of the money already. A project in Key West, a project in Cudjoe Gardens, a project in Marathon, and a project in Key Largo. So we're very optimistic that we will be able to help alleviate some of the workforce housing problems with our tourist industry employees, which we know is the driving economic driver of our county. So very pleased that the legislators allowed this one-time only carve out from funds that were over budgeted during COVID, when no one expected so many people to come down to the Florida Key, but they did. So this was a pot of money that was not earmarked for commercials, for advertisement. It was not earmarked for events. So it did not take away any funding from the places that need it, but it's just was sitting in a pot. And now I'm very excited that we are putting that money to good use. So that is my update from the fabulous Florida Keys, Senator Geller.
Only if, since Mr. Book says that his ETA is 11:45 and it's 11:32, we have some time to kill. Is there anything you could tell us wearing your other hat on an update from Florida Association of Counties?
Well, next week we are having our big conference, and I'm looking forward to that. We have some really good programs in store for everyone, everything from artificial intelligence to the tax to anything that's going on and that's affecting our state. And yeah, really looking forward to that. So it's not too late if anybody wants to sign up for that. So thank you for that. So since we do have like 15 minutes, I'm gonna take a short recess. So if anybody wants to freshen up, they may do so. We have one speaker left, and that is Ron Book, who is graciously on his way here to discuss with us everything that just happened in Tallahassee, which I think is still happening.
Wrapping up today.
In Tallahassee, wrapping up today.
Hopefully.
Yes, so with that, I am,
Can I say one?
yes,
real quick-
one more
quick
thing.
update. So I neglected to mention this, but I really want to let you know some good news. You know, we spent a great deal of time working on the South Florida installation, the military installation resilience review. And all our contract in December, we're very committed to making sure that we kept our commitments to our installation partners to keep working, our local county partners, city, to keep working to bring some projects on board. I'd like to particularly recognize Marion Knowles, regional planner, who has been our lead on this over the last few months. And to let you know that I am so delighted to be able to report to you that through our persistence, our continued at it, we were able to partner with the Miami-Dade County Department of Transportation and Public Works, with the new department director, Stacy Miller, but also Lisa Colmenares, who's the director of planning and longtime friend, and working with the Office of Local Defense Community Collaboration, OCC. We have, it appears, it's just like we're expecting to hear the announcements, we were able to secure $350,000 for Miami-Dade County. 35 of which will come from the state of Florida, Resilient Florida program to match the federal money. So 350 for Miami-Dade for them to undertake the mission critical homestead air reserve, access roads, flooding study, conceptual design. So we expect to have that award in hand for the county to get them started on that work. So I feel very good about that. And on top of that, we continue to work and we need to continue to work on the city of Doral and also in Broward, the South Florida Ocean Measurement Facility. The bulkhead is collapsing and there's a bunch of jurisdictional issues. But I just wanted to let you know that, yes, it was a long effort and a lot of people contributed, but there are fruits. And also in Key West, you saw there were other projects that came out that Monroe County, the city of Key West was able to move forward, building on the MIRR. So that's one.
Thank you for the update. And with that, we will take a recess until 11:45. Okay, we're in the restroom. You want to take your puppy dog outside? We take my puppy dog out of that.
That's who need the recess.
There.
Maybe by she left. So.
And with that, I will reconvene the meeting of the South Florida Regional Planning Council, and I am pleased to see that we have the rock star in the room now. We have the famous Mr. Ryan Book, and he has brought his, the powerhouse behind him, which is Carol Gracie. So welcome to our South Florida Regional Planning Council meeting. I know you have been up and down the state of Florida frequently this past 100 and how many days?
We're on day 105, I think, or 106, I think.
Right, right,
Yeah.
and
I am.
yes, I'm sure you are. We all greatly appreciate you being here in the room with us. And with that, further ado, I am turning the microphone and the floor over to you for you to give us your insights.
Sure, thank you very much, and everybody, nice to see you. Let me just start by saying that not since 1955 have we had a legislative session go on and on and on and on. And if you want to take a little solace in this, that session lasted a little over 550 days and went through an election cycle before it came to closure. But other than 1955, this is the longest continuing legislative session, I believe, in history. I think that at the end of the day, you would say that the Speaker of the House probably won far more than he lost. And it's not that he beat the Senate or beat the governor, but the issues that he, the Speaker of the House, and his team led on are those that, if you will, at the end of the day, when I'm done chatting with you, will have survived to the finish line. And what do I mean by that? Let me start with this legislative session was so much about ad valorem property tax. We're gonna repeal it. We're gonna repeal it. We're gonna repeal it. We're gonna repeal it. We're gonna replace some of it, but we're not gonna replace all of it. And gee whiz, figure out how to balance your budgets for police, fire, and or other things that you need to do. I will use Broward County as the example. 55% of their budget goes to fund police, fire, and those emergency related things. And people want to try to take that piecemeal. One should not lose sight of the fact that if you cut property taxes and you take away what funding funds local government, the sheriff has the trump card to take a greater percentage of what, where, when. Because if you cut police and fire in Broward County or any of the 66 other counties now in the state, remember there's a constitutional appeal to the governor and the cabinet. The governor and cabinet can say, sorry, 9 billion ain't enough. You got to give them 11. And oh, by the way, you don't have a source to go to get that. So you have to cut elsewhere and what otherwise operates your budget. So when you look at it, that's what drove a large percentage of what did or didn't get discussed during the session. What's the second most visible thing? Sales tax. We're going to reduce from 6 to 5 1/4. What's the next most visible? It was the TDT, CDT, and other surcharges, surtaxes, if you will, levied by local governments, which, as you may or may not recall, remained alive through week 7. Remained alive in a form that said that if you impose a TDT, 75% of what you collect must go to reduce your millage, The other 25% goes for the otherwise prescribed purposes of which you can utilize TDT as it exists today. That's what that measure looked like before it came off the table. And for those communities, and there are only two that also levy a CDT, that would have been in Miami-Dade and in the consolidated government of Duval, Jacksonville, all of which have a CDT, that too would have gone into every 8 years, you gotta reauthorize. If you're in a community like I'm gonna come to it. If you're in a community like Miami-Dade, where you have a food and beverage tax to fund homelessness, the model in America today, they would have had to do what they've never been able to have forced to do, which was to take that and put it on the ballot every 8 years as well. If you were a community like Broward, a community like Dade, a community like Hillsborough, that generates 300 million plus. In Broward, it's 300. In Dade, it's 370. In Hillsborough, it's 300. In a transportation surtax, that too would have had to go back on the ballot every 8 years. So forget whatever you do to debt finance. Forget whatever you do to advance growth in what that is. That all came off the table. That is no longer an issue. So I've gotten a couple of questions yesterday, Saturday, about the tax bill. Truth is, we didn't see a tax bill till yesterday. While they voted on Friday to adopt a conference report with a budget, a little over 115 billion, I think is what the total is, and a tax package and all the conforming and implementing bills. At the end of the day, on Friday, what they did was talk through concepts. They adopted provisions. I didn't see a bill till the weekend.
Oh, wow.
Now, the question I got Saturday said, well, we heard TDT made it back in. TDT's alive. TDT is alive in light form. It does not affect any of us. It affects Orlando, which is where the problem came in related to a sports entity, sports facility known as Campers World. That's where all this crap emanated from. And then what it did is, so there's language in there proposed by the Orlando, Orange County lawmakers to make sure that the abuses that some perceive have occurred. I can't tell you whether there have or haven't been abuses. I know what was alleged and what was argued, but at the end of the day, there's that language, and then there's language that authorizes those communities on the Gulf Coast that are fiscally constrained. They can now take their, assuming the conference report gets adopted late tonight, and they will convene at 7 tonight. They cannot vote on the budget until after 10:04 tonight, which is when it was clocked in on Friday. If you're in one of those fiscally constrained counties, you would now have your uses expanded to cover infrastructure. So you could use it to stretch what you have. I remind all of you, by the way, that are in municipal government, there still is no definition of a fiscally constrained cities. We have it for counties, but we've never decided that it was an appropriate thing to take that way. Let me talk a minute about what didn't pass. Number one, as your executive director well knows, as your council well knows, the big battle early part of session, the first 4 weeks, how to kill off the effort that was contained within the commerce package that would have otherwise repealed any and all references to regional planning councils in the state. The problem that some folks realized is that we were the problem for them. We were the problem because we stopped the bill from advancing until there was an agreement to take us out. And at that point, they ran out of time. Some of what Commerce wanted is embedded in the tax package, but nothing related to regional planning councils. Sovereign immunity. Folks, I can't make it clear enough, and I've been doing it for a decade. When you talk to your lawmakers, tell them how bad it would be to continue to increase or to go back and increase sovereign immunity levels. At the end of the day, we did it a decade or so ago. I said then what I can say now. The more you continue to pick away at it, the more the trial lawyers are going to make, and the worse it is on your budgets. Because when you file a lawsuit against the local government, you will now have to increase your risk manager, budget director, your manager, are all going to sit down and decide what is the responsible amount to put away the day the lawsuit gets filed. You're going to put away what that limit is going forward. It is a bad idea. We have managed to kill it the last couple of years. It continues to come back. It will continue to come back. At some point, if we all don't rise together, the trial bar will win on this issue because it's a giveaway. I wrote a law review article, Sam, in 1977 about sovereign immunity. Either you believe in protecting the king's money or you don't. And in your respective communities, the king's money are the taxpayers' dollars. And either you believe or you don't believe. If you don't believe, then let's just get rid of sovereign immunity. Let's just dump it. Let's just put it all on the taxpayers to worry about it. And let's see how they feel when there are assessments or millage increases to meet the demands of what those verdicts are, or what those non-limits are. Either you believe or you don't believe. And let's face it, if there's a claims bill, something bad happened. There's a jury verdict. Something bad occurred. I got it. My mother and father taught me life wasn't fair. It's not. And so when you are in an accident and your UMU policy only gives you 500,000, and somehow something really bad happened in that car accident, the person you had the accident with had no coverage. And your UMU only gives you this much on a claim that should have been paid at this much. That's not fair either. But it's not fair to do to the taxpayers. And that's the message to House and Senate members going forward. What else didn't pass? Well, we've talked about property tax elimination. It didn't pass. I do believe there will be a study. I don't believe the governor is done. Anybody who thinks he is hasn't paid attention for 6.5 years. He's not done because he didn't succeed yet. It's coming back. It's coming back. It's alive. It's just temporarily on life support. CRAs, the battle that didn't leave until probably week 7, week 8 either. And look, let's face it. And I'm going to talk to those of you who represent city government and those that are on the Zoom. If you do things that you know violate what Ronna Brown and I know as the 1A rule above the fold, if it ain't going to embarrass you on 1A above the fold, then it's okay. But if you're doing a lobster bash or you're doing a soiree to Amelia Island, don't do it. Don't do it. I don't believe the abuses are happening in our CRAs. Go back and read. Have your general counsel, of your city managers, of your county manager, attorneys. Look at the reasons why CRAs were created in the first place. Slum and blight, not soirees, not rap concerts, not $1 million floats in parades. Southwest Florida. A parade
Parade float.
that cost a lot of money. Wow.
Yep.
So I would simply say to you, we gotta be smarter. You're under attack, you know that. It didn't start yesterday. What else?
2007.
By the time you left,
No, starting with Marco.
it's probably true. So a lot of the bad stuff that local governments are concerned about didn't happen. Some things did happen. There are amendments to live local.
Oh, yeah.
I think we're still deciphering some of that, some of which is contained in the tax package. The emergency preparedness bill passed, which was 180. Condo bill passed, which provides some level of relief. And let me go backwards now to the budget and the tax package. 903 million with the repeal of the commercial rental tax. Unfortunately, some of us were not aware until the 11th hour that the 903 million in state sales tax cut, part of the 2.25, I said the speaker won, he reduced recurring spending by close to $250 million. No, I'm wrong. $2.5 billion. 903 million of which is the commercial rental tax. I won't put my friend Commissioner Geller on the spot to tell me what that means in Broward County, but I'll make it rather
About
simple.
15 million.
How much?
About 15 million.
No, sir, it's about 50 million.
What the count, we were told that it was about 15 million for the county,
It's
50
50.
million for the cities.
Well,
So
I have it from your county administrator is 50. Because it's really it has a trickle down. So your 50 is the 50 that comes out of the surtax, if you will, your gasoline surtax. If you're in Miami-Dade, where they raised 380 million for Jackson with their half penny, 380 million for transportation, their other half penny, it's about 51, 52 million total. 25 million of which hits Jackson, and about 25 which hits the county transportation surtax. I can tell you that those local governments with those surtaxes will have to make adjustments of a significant amount. So understand that while it's 903 million of recurring at the state, there is a similar reduction at the local level as well. Again, all part of how do we reduce the burden on taxpayers. Second piece, permanent back to school holidays, permanent year-round disaster preparedness tax elimination, permanent health and safety, including fire extinguishers, smoke detectors, carbon monoxide detectors, permanent sales tax removal on admissions to state parks, permanent sales tax elimination on gold, silver, platinum, bullion, new Florida hunting, fishing, camping sales tax holiday, extension of the freeze on local cell phone and TV taxes, home away from home tax credits, all of part of what is contained within the tax package. What they did was take a large percentage, not all, of the temporary sales tax holidays that had existed and made them permanent year-round for everyone to have the opportunity to take advantage of. There are the things in the tax package, but I repeat, overall, talking about a $2.5 billion reduction of recurring revenue. So those in cities and county governments that have historically relied on the state budget for various projects and the like, I would suggest that you consider contracting some of what you ask for from the state, or they become diminishing return projects that you submit that otherwise have no chance of passage going forward. I'm happy to take whatever questions you have. I would say that overall, I think that the people of Florida, as well as the businesses of Florida, benefit overall from what came out of this tax package. Whether you believe in cutting taxes or not, the fact is that is where this legislature is and has been. And I think no one should be surprised at what's contained within it. I think if temporary sales tax holidays are looked at over a period of years and you determine what you believe as a lawmaker is best for taxpayers, those are what become permanent sales tax exemptions. With that, Madam Chair, thank you for the opportunity. I'm happy to answer questions, and I'm gonna throw them all to Ronna anyway, so that she feels on the spot.
It's okay.
Ronna, I'm so sorry. I called you Carol.
It's okay, I love Carol, so that's okay.
She's another great woman,
She
but
is.
so are you. I'm so sorry about
That's
that.
totally fine.
It's Monday morning.
It sure is.
I'll start with Zoom. Is there anyone in Zoom that has a question? I see that Commissioner Maria Rodriguez, you have unmuted yourself. The floor is yours.
Hi, thank you so much for the report. Mr. Book, I was wondering if you could delve a little bit deeper into the condo relief options. From my understanding, there were part of the bill allowed for a different kind of funding option. If you had any more information on that, I'd greatly appreciate it.
We will get a full report on the bill to your staff here at the RPC, and they will get it out to you. Ron will get it to you. Because Ron, you want to add anything to it? I mean, it extends the dates. It provided what I would say is a modicum of relief for those searching for, if you will, true relief in meeting what was adopted post Surfside from a health, safety, welfare standpoint of the public. Look, you know, a lot of people we all know own older condominium buildings. If those associations didn't do their jobs, that's really unfortunate. That there was a belief that they needed to Medicaid, soften the common element needs from a maintenance standpoint, not looking at 40-year and 50-year inspections. Do I have a sympathy for it? Sure. If you've got to come out of pocket with a special assessment of 30 grand or 50 grand or 60 grand or 80 grand or 90 grand or 100 grand to go in, you're looking for some relief. When you don't get it at the local level, at your condo board, because you can't, because they're bound by a statute, you petition your government for relief. And I believe the legislature responded with some level of relief. I don't know, Commissioner, that it went as far as some associations advocated for it and some others at the local level. Ronna, you have anything you want to add to it? We'll get a report though.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else on Zoom with a question? And I don't see anyone unmuting, so I'll bring it into the floor. We'll start with you, Senator
You
Geller.
knew that was
Well, I
gonna
know you will.
By the way, Ron and I have been friends since 1973, when we were both young.
I was 5 at the time.
Right, and I must have been like 2, but I think you're 3 years older than me. I was in middle school I was in high school at the time, and Ron was in college. First of all, by the way, and I'll make a statement and we can then move on. On the sovereign immunity, I do think we should have indexed it for inflation. And what I personally would be supportive of indexing it to inflation. And, you know.
I'd rather protect the king's money than you.
Okay, on the property taxes, I agree with you that government, this is not done. But as we were discussing this earlier, you know, again, speaking only for Broward, 77% of our GR dollars come from property taxes, and 55.7% of our GR dollars go directly to the SO, which is why I only refer to this as the defund the police bill. I know it is impossible to prognosticate what will occur next year when we haven't passed this year's budget, but any realistic, I've seen things from, you know, increasing the sales tax to increasing the homestead exemption to 500,000, to saying that instead of altering Save Our Homes, so that instead of going up 3% a year, can't go up at all, which means we'll eventually die. Or to make an exemption just for first-time home buyers, or to get them into the market. Do you have any prognostication as to what you think might occur next year, realizing it's way too early?
I think it would be irresponsible to suggest to you that any one of those or any one of 25 other options sort of pops up. Here's what I know. The governor continued to be committed to giving every homesteaded property owner in the state $1,000 rebate up till the very end. That didn't die, other than the fact that it didn't get traction in the last 10 days. To say it wasn't discussed extensively by leadership in both houses would be disrespectful to the governor, because I believe it was discussed broadly and widely in private discussions. I think that the impact in your county or any of the other counties in this region, or any of the other regions that we have, the 10 total regions, I think would be devastating on a permanent basis. I believe there's going to be a ballot measure out there next year. I believe the ballot measure will be what is offered in tax relief. I think one of if you want to talk about why a permanent sales tax holiday from a policy standpoint may have some flaws, it would be because you don't have to give away tomorrow. You don't have it to give away in an election year. And I think that something in an election year, in the way of some form of tax relief, is going to come. And I think the way they get there is with a ballot measure. Now, you and I both know it takes a super majority vote of both houses to put a joint resolution on the ballot in 26. But I believe that will be the potential going away gift to the governor. But it's going to take getting the House in line with that. The Senate has demonstrated over the last 8 or 9 months an alignment with the administration. I think some of us were surprised at how that ultimately played itself out. But at the end of the day, they got to get the House comfortable with it. You don't have the House leadership comfortable. Both Speaker Perez and Speaker Designate Garrison and Speaker Designate Candidate, you're gonna have the leadership on board to garner the number of votes needed to put something on the ballot. So it's gonna be a give and take negotiation no matter what. And I think the governor, understands, and I think his staff understands the need to have that dialogue exist over the next 8 months. Because let's face it, legislative sessions in January.
Next question,
Sure, certainly.
This is rhetorical, you don't have to answer, but why won't they just do that so well? Every session, multiple preemption votes, every session. When I was there, up until Marco, who started we used to respect, well, the legislature, and I still say we, when I refer to the legislature, would treat local governments like our partners representing the same constituents, and that just doesn't seem to be the case anymore.
Thanks for not asking me to answer the question.
Last, and this is more of a comment, the problem on condo insurance, on the condo issue is 2 or 3 fold. We can't fix it because at least half of it's coming from insurance rates. And there are things we might be able to do on that, but they're probably federal in nature. So if they're all blaming it on the legislation, but it's not, at least half of it is soaring insurance rates. If they don't fix if the boards don't go ahead and make the needed repairs, they're not gonna be able to buy insurance, which they are required to have. So they're gonna have to, even if the state doesn't do anything. And the biggest problem is, I still remember, I tell the story all the time, when I was representing Hallandale back in I represented for 20 years, but in the late 80s and early 90s, and I go, Mr. Cohen, and that it was a Mr. Cohen or Mr. Goldberg, you've got to stop waiving your reserves every year. And they would just tell me every year, Sonny, I'm 78. I don't even buy green bananas anymore. Let my children or grandchildren worry about it. They'll own it.
Well, that's exactly where the problem is. I mean,
They waived their reserves for 30 years.
it's really hard not to lay the blame on those associations. I mean, they want everybody to bail them out, but it was associations that did that. It's not the lawmakers that did that. Lawmakers are doing what they're constitutionally required to do. What are they supposed to do? Most
Protect the
important,
public.
health, safety, welfare, and that's what they're doing. I'm remiss, Commissioner. There is one other thing I want to go back to, if I could, for just a minute.
Absolutely.
I think one should look at how much money the House and the Senate gave to local communities for true infrastructure. You won't find a city, you won't find a county that didn't get those infrastructure projects funded. Look at how many water projects they funded.
Yeah.
Look at the list. It's several $100 million. So while I've talked about some of these other issues that affect everybody, one should not lose sight of that. Look, education choice is going to continue to grow at a cost greater in growth dollars than the Medicaid budget. People just need to learn to accept the reality of where we are. The times have changed. Commissioner, when you left the legislature, for years and years before, and years after, Medicaid was the largest growing component in what last year was $119.5 billion budget, 115 or so billion this year. But this year and in the years to come, I think you're gonna see pre-K to 12 continue to eat up more and more and more of what the budget looks like. I think that higher education, did better in the budget than I thought they were gonna do. I thought while they took some cuts, I think that they ended up with a tremendous amount of PICO dollars, public education capital outlay dollars in their budgets. I think our universities in South Florida, FIU, University of Miami, Broward College, Miami-Dade College, FAU, I think were percentage-wise larger winners than many of the other schools other than maybe Florida State. University of Florida did not have quite as good a year as they've had over the last several.
Thank you for that. We have time for one more question from.
And I'll keep it quick. Thank you so much, Ron. Just a comment on the, whatever we're gonna see on the ballot next year with tax relief. Florida League of Cities, our board of directors meeting last Friday, we addressed this and we're urging cities to start to tell the story now during this budget cycle, to get ahead of whatever is coming, to their residents, because the polling showing public safety, parks and rec are what are most important to, residents. So we need to start talking about the potential cuts now. Sovereign immunity. The city that you live in, my city, is self-insured, and we have 15 to 30 pre-suits in the hopper at any given time. So I've been going up to Tallahassee the last couple of years and fighting this bill. And my frustration is, to your point, my state representative, who I adore and have a great relationship with, is a trial attorney. So every year we battle about this. He thinks the limit should go higher. What I find is many of the representatives come from it, if they're not trial attorneys, come from it from a place of empathy. They feel that they're helping. And we've tried to say, you're helping the few at the expense of the many. So do you have any other arguments for us? Because we know it's the zombie bill, it's going to continue to come back.
Look, I think one of the problems with term limits is you can take votes and make changes, and it's in your rearview mirror and you're no longer an office holder and people forget. I think that what people need to understand are how much in reserves they will have to do once you raise the limit. And I think that you take, it's not hard to do, Mayor, to ultimately take your last 10 years of suits and average number of how many new appear each year.
Right.
What your average resolutions were, and then determine what plus factor your risk manager, what plus factor your finance director, what plus factor your outside litigation counsel believe is the appropriate amount to reserve, and then ask the question, and not in rhetorical form, how much more burden of taxes do you want to put on your local next door neighbor? Because it's going to haunt you into the future, because we're going to tell the story. If you think I as mayor, I as a council member, I as a commissioner are gonna eat the cost politically of raising taxes based on how much money I have to reserve for litigation, I'm sorry, you're mistaken about that.
Thank you.
And let's be clear. The trial bar has grown in its place of interest in the House more so than in the Senate. I think the reason, to be honest with you, I believe sovereign immunity failed is the government. Governor weighed in. Governor weighed in. We went down, and we met with their team. And we laid it out because he had been quiet on the issue. And it was at about that time that a bunch of things were going on that allowed us, if you will, to move that to a different place. I think there became a sensitivity to the things he indicated he would veto. And I think that helped us find a waste can for the bill.
Thank you.
It's really great. All right, thank you for those questions. Thank you for the presentation. I'm gonna turn it over to the chair for final comments, or to our CEO.
Yeah, it's mine. So I just want to take a minute to thank our, I did most of my legislative calls in the Senate. And some senators had opportunity to say things, other, the bill was coming, then whatever. I don't know all the people that work behind the scenes, but I do want to specifically thank Senator Barbara Sharif, who gave a very eloquent testimony for the regional planning councils and the Commerce Committee. She really stood up and spoke about the South Florida Regional Council in particular and the value added. And of course, I want to thank Ron and Rana for their great help before, during, and after. And after this meeting, it's gone long. I'd like to find out what to expect next year for the next bill. And in the meantime, on behalf of South Florida Regional Planning Council.
Knows how to get to my heart.
That's it. So on behalf of the Regional Planning Council, gratitude for all the hard work you both have done.
She gets the larger boxes, I messed up.
Well, they're different ones. So just thank you. It's a little token of our appreciation.
And with that, on July 21st, we'll be having another meeting. I look forward to seeing everyone then, and this meeting is.
I'm not sure, Ron.